Stage fright, how to avoid anxiety. Drink alcohol, take Klonopin. If you're not into life-shredding addictions, if you don't enjoy those things, you can also ask your doctor for a beta blocker. It's just a medication that's non-addictive that lowers blood pressure. Normally when you experience anxiety, extreme anxiety that comes along with stage fright, borderline panic attacks, your blood pressure rises, and that's what you feel on the inside. That's when your hands shake, that's when your voice quivers. That's what palpable anxiety is. So beta blockers reduce this. One is called propranolol. It's non-addictive, it's harmless. You could take it if you have recurrent anxiety, or if you want to get into a job that requires you to perform, like teaching, where you have to speak in front of a class, or stand-up comedy where you're public speaking in front of an audience. At some point you're going to have to realize that anxiety is part of the job, and it goes away on some level, but for some people it doesn't go away. You just learn how to manage anxiety while you're up there. And at some point you start to enjoy it. So if you've noticed, all the solutions I've had so far come with preparing. So my first tip is be prepared. Whatever's going to cause anxiety, be over-prepared. So you want to play out the scenario you're expecting. You want to play out giving the presentation in your head, and then you want to play out giving the presentation in a different character that's confident. You're playing somebody else. Imagine Jack Nicholson, I always think of as a very confident person. Do a Jack Nicholson impression in your head, your version of it, over and over again until you become used to going through the motions of that presentation in a character that's confident. That way it becomes muscle memory. But the biggest thing is just preparing for it. We're talking about social anxiety. There's some circumstances that naturally cause anxiety, like public speaking with a cold sore, or standing on the last ledge you plan to stand on, or going through international customs with a rectal methamphetamine balloon, or swimming out from the shore of the ocean as far as you can possibly swim until you can't paddle anymore, and then trying to figure out how you're going to get back. I did that one time, just 10 minutes passed further away than being anxious from being too far from the shore, just wondering how deep the vast blue Atlantic Ocean is. I don't recommend it. Anxiety inducing. A dessert cart when you're picking up the check, or a post-COVID public transportation handshake. Being too high to run into your ex in the men's restroom. Hallucinating too soon after you dropped acid and realizing that you took too much. You take it and then 10 minutes later you're already seeing things and you're like, I'm still going up for another 2 hours. This is an ordeal. That's anxiety inducing. You didn't prepare correctly. You ate too much. So we're talking about social confidence here. If it's something like you're talking to somebody or giving a presentation, first off, 25 to 50% of your anxiety is based on your body language, and you don't need to read a whole book on it. 25% minimally is just on keeping your hands occupied. So I, unlike every other person who talks about body language, actually recommend sticking your hands in your pockets if it's going to make you feel more confident and comfortable. It's better to be confident than awkward. Or you can have something in your hands that keeps them occupied. You just don't want your hands to feel conspicuously unattended to. Body language. You want to be square and level. So you want to be facing the person directly, evenly. You want your head level. You don't want to be looking at the floor. Basically, in preparation for whatever is going to cause you a panic attack, you want to get up there as soon as you get started, make eye contact, and then pick a point right around the circumference of their head that's behind them. to focus on. You don't want your eyes wandering all over the place. So I'm going to give an example. Right now I'm looking into the camera. Right now I'm looking past the camera at a fixed point. Right now I'm looking right above the camera. You want to mainly make eye contact, but pick one additional point near their head which is beyond them. So you're looking at them, you're looking past them. You're looking at them, you're looking past them. It gives you the sensation that you're looking through them, and it also gives off an air of confidence. So you're square, you're level, you picked a point to take up 30 to 40% of your focus, your eye focus. Your hands are either in your pockets or occupied. If you have nothing like a pen to fiddle with, you don't want to be fiddling and distracting, but you can temporarily keep your hands together. The one thing you don't want to do is close your hands up, make fists, or bend your arms at the elbow and scrunch in. You don't want to shrug your shoulders, scrunch in, make fists. You want to be loose. So that's why I recommend putting your hands in your pockets, because if you're confident, it's like, for me, being in my bed under my blankets is the most secure place I have. I cannot be anxious there. So if I can mimic that secure feeling by putting my hands in my pockets, I'd rather do that than be anxious and inattentive to the conversation. Never speak while breathing shallow. Even if it takes a long pause that's somewhat awkward, you can use the time while you're breathing, making sure you're taking deep, firm breaths, to think of clarity in your word choice. So even if it takes an extra pause, make sure you inhale deeply, because it gives your voice the confidence you need. You need a full set of lungs to deliver without hesitation. Also, the reason I suggest putting your hands in your pockets is because if it's going to make you all the more confident, nobody's going to notice that your hands are in your pockets, especially if you're coming across as confident. Nobody's going to go back to the book they read on body language and think, oh, his hands are in his pockets, that's what that means. Don't believe the body language myth that all body language implies one specific thing. It doesn't. Sometimes I'm confident with my hands in my pockets. I frequently stand with my arms crossed when I'm comfortable and open. It doesn't suggest that I'm socially closed off. It's more important that you're confident, and wherever your hands get placed, as long as you're confident, it's more important. Your mentality going into it, before get into the mental space you want, the confident character you have, and then you want to approach this situation. Picturing everybody naked doesn't work. That's terrible advice. It just doesn't work. What I recommend is figuring out what triggers your anger and your hostility and get in that mind frame. Stay on topic, but get in a pissed off mind frame, because there's no room for anxiety when you're hostile. And you don't have to act that way. I don't know if you know how to control your emotions, but if I'm hostile, I can still deliver a calm message. It just takes away the anxiety. Oh, secret. Another secret that I guess is a bonus if you decided to watch this whole thing is instead of all the medications, you can also take 1,000 milligrams of magnesium 2 hours before the anxiety-inducing event. Just make sure you also take 2 Imodiums so you don't irrigate your colon. Seriously, 1,000 milligrams of magnesium is easily as strong as a Klonopin, if not stronger. It just takes away anxiety and blood pressure. Another thing you can do in envisioning yourself in a confident character and having acted it out, or trying to trigger whatever pisses you off, you can also think of it in 2 ways. One is approach it as though you only have 25 seconds to explain whatever you need to get done, and the sense of urgency kind of takes away the anxiety. You can also approach it by thinking you're not there to impress somebody, you're there to share information. So it kind of takes some of the burden off. And laugh. If you're looking for a job promotion, or if your anxiety is from social interaction, if something funny comes up, laugh. People remember themselves being funny much more than they remember you telling a joke. So if they can make you laugh, they'll like you. Why do you think people get addicted to stand-up? It's really unforgiving, especially in the first year. Why do you think people go back? It's because people enjoy getting a laugh. It's universal. So laugh. If you're giving a presentation, some people recommend looking just over the heads of your audience. I recommend actually scanning the gaze of everybody in the room and then just narrowing your focus to the eye contact of the welcoming people, even if it's one person and the distant window. So I'm looking at this one person, I'm looking at the window, I'm looking at this one person, looking at the window, or two people. I think you're going to be better off making eye contact rather than looking over their heads. Eye contact is a big number one in confidence, and we're talking about faking confidence. And people read anxiety very little. Remember, anxiety is on the inside. People don't read it unless your hands are trembling, or you're not making eye contact when you should be in a conversation. So you're going to want to get used to making eye contact. Generally speaking, if you're comfortable with it, they're comfortable with it. If all this isn't working, you can try standing with your feet about 4 or 5 inches further apart than you normally stand. Something else that gets rid of anxiety is a song. If you have a song that triggers energy and confidence, for me, I listen to hip-hop. I listen to the hip-hop I grew up with. Whatever songs you listen to. Olympic performers always have earbuds in, listening to music to get them amped up for their performance. They're not anxious. For some odd reason, social interaction draws more anxiety than performing an action in front of the world. Nevertheless, part of the reason these Olympic athletes aren't anxious is because they're listening to music that's amping them up for whatever task is at hand. So get a song that makes you confident and listen to it and memorize it. And, it could even be running through your head while you're doing whatever you need to get done. The best job interview I ever had, I actually cut the person off once or twice while they were speaking because I was so eager to get to more information that they had for me. It went extremely well. But I don't recommend cutting people off unless you're naturally eager to say something. If something's on the tip of your tongue, if it's going to be adding something to the conversation, then cut somebody off. That's an assertion of dominance. It's not offensive if you're adding information that's requisite to whatever job you need to get done, so you can cut people off. So just remember that anxiety is on the inside. So if you have to live with it, if you're not going to take magnesium or drink, or if you just have it on a daily basis and you don't want to be medicated for it, you can learn to live with it. It's not a terrible emotion to have. It's kind of unfortunate that it spikes your cortisol because that's unhealthy, especially on a regular basis. But you can learn to live with it. I'll give you an example. This is me after doing comedy 14 years, still getting terrible stage fright. This video is me having a panic attack, but 14 years into comedy, I don't even it doesn't even stop me from doing anything. Barely any signs of nervousness, and this is a borderline panic attack. The reason is because I'm not used to doing live TV, and I woke up last minute, so they called me at 8 to do a set at 8:15. They moved it back to 8:30 because I was late. I was totally unprepared, and I just worked it up in my head too much. So this is me in a full-on panic attack.
All right, welcome back. And for the end of our show, we're so excited to introduce our guest, Dan McCourt.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Give it up for Studio B coming back. That's great. Studio B, I'm happy to be here. There's so much less pretentious than Studio A. For the virgin in the pink shirt, just some advice. Everybody plays hard to get if you're ugly enough, honestly. It's not you, I'm just saying. Look, find a good woman. A good woman is like a pair of sneakers, supportive until you wear down their soul. So you can learn to manage your anxiety. This is what extreme anxiety looks like when you're used to having it. This is me at my most confident, not much different.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Daniel McCourt.
I took a drive on a country road into my hometown, even though the older crowd has grown up and rolled out. But every now and then I stop and for a drink or two.
Hello, Ithaca, or whatever shit town we're in tonight. Jesus Christ, you guys drunk yet? You live in Binghamton, right? Isn't that? Drink up, people, black out. Drive home. It doesn't affect me. I don't care. I think drunk drivers should be the spokespeople for automobile safety. Those people risk their lives every Friday and Saturday night. Seriously, it should just be a car commercial with some like Aaron drunk guy, just like, hey, my name's Dan, and I have five DWI, and when I decide to polish off a fifth of vodka and jump behind the wheel, I trust Honda Civic. Holy shit, honey, we gotta get a Honda Civic. This asshole's not dead yet. This is amazing. But yeah, feel free to black out. I don't care. I'm just saying, like, you gotta watch out. These cops are stepping up enforcement. If you hear the local radio, they have their advertisements. They're like, cops, we'll see you before you see us. No, you won't. No, you won't. I'm driving drunk right now. I'm seeing double. So don't be averse to anxiety-inducing things, especially if they're going to move your career forward, your social life forward. Talking to girls, that's a big one you want to prepare for. You want to, talking to the opposite sex or the same sex or anybody you're sexually interested in or socially interested in on a serious level. If you want to develop an intimate relationship with somebody and you're approaching them, you want to be prepared. You want to, before you approach them, think of two clever, they don't have to be funny, just think of two clever go-tos. So if you're talking to a girl, maybe something about the room, like, oh, this music is yada yada, or I don't like this bartender, or look at that sign, why would they say something like that? It seems ironic, because bringing up irony for some odd reason gets people involved. Usually they love to point out how it's not ironic, even when it is. So you want to be prepared. Think of two go-to mini speeches. I'm talking 2 or 3 sentences that you can divert your immediate ad-libbing with this person to revert to something you've rehearsed ahead of time. That is interesting. That'll open the door. Thanks. Give it up for Mike, people. Give it up. No, not like that. Not like that. I meant sexually. Give it up for Mike. He worked hard. Well, I am happy to be here. It only took, 6 passes on the road to find the place? That's it. I'd rather pass 6 kidney stones. Can somebody tell him prohibition is over? You don't need to hide. This is ridiculous. I'm going to call this place the G-Spot because it's gangster and it's impossible to find.